So,
Hello, hello. So I want to do an update on this 3 days of darkness. I asked Spirit, have I been through this 3 days of darkness already? And Spirit said, yeah, it's not necessarily the way people think it's gonna be. For some of us, it's not necessarily gonna be everything just going dark and going to just being completely black where we can't even see ourselves. The reason why is because there are many of us that's already in our transformation process of transitioning out of the ego into our authentic selves, to the point where we don't have to go through anything that's that drastic sounding, because we are completely, there are many of us that's already on this process of evolution. But there probably will be some that will go through that. Okay, I don't know how that's going to look for them, but there are some who will go through that. And they probably will go through that because the ego realm is completely coming to an end. Duality is ending. Duality is ending. The ego realm is completely coming to an end. That sounds like almost the end of the physical. But then at the same time, this isn't the real physical realm, though. This is the false physical realm. So I don't really know if that's the end of the physical, because this is the false world. This is an illusion. So the illusion is coming to an end. So for some people, they might see it that way. The way that I described it in my earlier video with the 3 days of darkness, where this lady in this video just said that she was in a vision. In a vision, she was warned that there was everything was just going to go dark and just going to be completely dark. And then she was in the mall, right? And in her vision, she was in the mall, and she tried to call her husband, say we got to let him know that they got to go home, because the darkness is coming. Okay. And when she was somewhere else and her husband and the kids were somewhere else, when she called to try to go get them so they can hurry up, she said they were already home. Her husband said, "Oh, we already home." He said, What do you mean you already home with the kids?" And she was like, "I can't believe you left me." And his response to her in the vision now, his response to her was, "I called and called and called and called, and you did not answer your phone, so the kids was ready to go home. So we just went home." Okay. Righty. But anyway, by the way, this lady, she's no longer married to that guy. So that right there sounded like it was some kind of message in that in itself, besides the 3 days of darkness message. It sounded like that thing happened. What happened with her husband and what he did sound like that was a message for her too. A lot of times people have these visions. It could be for a lot of people, but it's really for them. And it's probably 60% for them and maybe 40-30% for other people. A lot of times when these visions, a lot of times is for the people that's having them. But she said something that really made me think. So when as she was talking, she said in her vision, as she was talking to her husband, before she can finish saying that there was gonna be darkness, she said that the house just kept getting darker and darker and darker and darker, and he couldn't see anything. And it got to the point where he couldn't even see his hand in front of his face. And she was like, "Oh, go get a lamp, go get some candles or something like that." But it was nothing that was going to help, because, like I said before, the ego, that's an ego death, and that's complete darkness. What does the womb look like? Is it complete darkness in the womb? It's complete darkness in the womb. That complete sound darkness, 3 days of darkness, almost sounds like you're in the womb. It's like it's like the world as you know it is completely coming to an end, and the false world is completely coming to an end. It's like literally an ego death. And so he couldn't see his hand in front of him. It was almost like he didn't have a body anymore. Okay, so that's like you're dying to yourself, but you're dying to the ego. You're dying to who you think you are, that person that you always thought you were, that's coming to an end. And when you have a person that has been in their ego that's deep, everybody is still struggling with some part of being in their ego because we are involved in this world, still having to work, still having to take care of family, or whatever it is you're doing, still having to pay bills, some kind of way you're still invested in this life, having involved in it some kind of way. And so you're still in your ego in some kind of way, having to have some level of responsibility in this world, you know. Um, but some people are to a point where they already are not holding on to their life. They're just going through whatever they have to go through until it's time for it to be over. But they're not holding on to this life. And I'm at the point I'm not holding on to this life. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to brag. There's some very, very traumatizing and drastic things happen for me to completely let this life go. And I'm not holding on to this life at all, period. I mean, period. I really don't even care if I just go back to awareness. Like, I don't care. Like, this, what I've dealt with has been so traumatizing, there's nothing to hold on to. I'm not going to, like, well, something good might happen, but I don't care as long as I don't see this stuff any longer, but for some people who might not have gone through as much, who might have been completely deep into their egos and not only any kind of process of transitioning out of their ego and completely 100% into their ego, it's gonna be extremely more traumatizing for them than anything I probably ever seen before. Probably what they might see might be more traumatizing for them than anything I have experienced, because it's going to be very shocking it's going to be very shocking if something like that really happens, where all of a sudden it's just completely dark and you don't see nothing. You can't even see your hand. Everything just goes black and you can't figure out what's going on. Some people are not going to have to go through that because they're already in the process of dying to the ego. But those who have not been in the process of dying to their ego, and they absolutely love their ego and they hold on hard to this life, it's going to be very shocking. It's going to be very shocking. So I just wanted this to be an update of the 3 days of darkness, like a part 2 of the 3 days of darkness. That when I said in my last upload that I can't wait for it to happen. But it's already happened. I've already been through the 3 days of darkness. I continue to go through the 3 days of darkness. Continually go on 3 days, do my 3 days of darkness. And probably in the next 2 weeks, I'll say what I've been doing. But I'm constantly dying. I'm constantly dying. Every single day, I'm dying. When I say dying, it's nothing scary. I'm talking about literally dying to this life and dying to this person that's speaking this identity, completely dying to it, letting it go, completely dying. The ego can't let itself go. So when I say let it go, I can't let myself go. Ego cannot let itself go. That means the spirit has to be stronger than the ego. Like, the ego cannot let itself go. It's not going to work like that. The ego wants to grow, but the only thing you can do is kind of transition out of the ego to be no longer an ego. But anyway, that's it. That's just a part 2 to talk about me saying that I kind of can't wait to go through the 3 days of darkness, but I've already gone through the 3 days of darkness, and many people already have gone through their 3 days of darkness. But there will be probably some that's going to go through exactly what this lady described, just like it's going to be complete darkness where people can't even see themselves and they can't see nothing. And it's just going to be so scary and they're not going to understand what's going on, because when you're deep into the ego, it's very, very scary. It's very scary. But sometimes when you know what to expect, even if you're deep into your ego, when it comes, you'll already be prepared that it's coming, and you're like, okay, well, don't panic. You know it's coming. It's like it's the ego death. So, like, nobody's going to tell you to go to work the next day. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about being hungry. You're dying to the ego. Don't worry about being hungry. The spirit is taking over. When the spirit take over, just let it do its thing. Don't worry about food. And no, it's like the ego keep trying to figure out, what am I going to do with it? No, the ego is dying. The ego is no longer in charge. But anyway, that's it, and I'll talk later.